Well, first I want to just say thank you for everybody who was here last week holding it down while I was in Tennessee with my family. I'm so grateful for this community and that there are so many people who can step in and carry it on while I am away. So thank you to everyone. And I especially want to take an opportunity to say thank you to Hazel Spears. I mean, my gosh, what a wonderful message. She just reminded us of the power of love and what it means to be conscious and intentional in our life. It might just take you to Egypt. If you are so intentional about the life that you want to live, it'll take you wherever you're supposed to be. Truly. Thank you, Hazel. That was a wonderful message. If you haven't seen the message, you should go and watch it. You should go to our YouTube channel or our Facebook page and listen to her message from last week. It was exceptional. Really and truly was. So here we are, and our theme for the month of April is fully robed. Fully robed. And as always, just want to start out with a few spiritual principles, also known as What We Believe by Ernest Holmes. You can do a search for it and find this that I have in my hand. We have numbered what we believe and call them principles, and there are many principles. These are not the only principles. And so spiritual principle number 1, we believe in God, the living spirit, almighty one, indestructible, absolute, and self-existent cause. This one manifests itself in and through all creation, but is not absorbed by its creation. We do believe that the manifest universe is the body of God. It is the logical and necessary outcome of the infinite self-knowingness of God. In other words, we believe that everything is spirit, everything is in movement, and movement is life. Spiritual principle number 2, we believe in the individualization of the spirit in us, and that all people are individualizations of the one spirit. Spiritual principle number 5, we believe the ultimate goal of life to be a complete freedom from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. And finally, spiritual principle number 7, we believe in the direct revelation of truth through our intuitive and spiritual nature, and that anyone may become a revealer of truth who lives in close contact with the indwelling God. Our theme for the year, oneness, a day at a time. The more I think about it and the more we talk about it, it seems to me that it is more of a declaration rather than an invitation. It feels more like it's not a question, but a statement, a declaration that we immerse ourselves in practice, that we fully immerse ourselves in truth. And this immersion in truth and principles and practices is not so that we can protect ourselves or shield ourselves. We immerse ourselves in these truths so that we can know, that we know, that we know. That is why we are immersing ourselves in these truths. And I have asked and said and stated before that it feels like for me that this year is a call for us collectively and individually to go deeper into our practices, to be open to great understanding of the principles, to have it realized in our own lives in ways then that we can come and have a belief in action and share with others. So we are to, in some sense then, to take up our swords and put on our robes, to immerse ourselves in truth until we become fully robed in this truth, until we become fully immersed in love, until we become fully immersed in beauty, until we become fully immersed in truth. One who is robed is usually fully covered. If you think about robes, At graduations, when people have robes on, they're fully covered. I probably should have worn my robe today. That would have been good, right? But when I have my robe on, I'm fully covered. You know, it kind of like covers everything. And so the robe and my robe and your robe, it is a symbol, a representation then of everything that I've come to know, right? So when I put it on, and that I carry then everything that I know with me wherever I go, you know. So I remember when I was a little girl going to the church, the pastor would always have their robes on Sunday. And some still do. You know, if you go to a traditional church, a lot of them wear their robes to remember, as a reminder of who they really and truly are. So then, metaphorically, we all put our robes on. And you might think that it is something of a putting on and a taking off of the robe, but it's not that. We are always all immersed and covered by our robe. And I think I've shared this story before in the past, and I want to share it again because I want you to get the picture and the significance of what it means to be fully robed. One Sunday at Elkins Estate, I don't know what year it was, but many years ago, Reverend Sheila was standing up delivering the Sunday service, and I was sitting in the back. I was holding consciousness in quiet repose, and if you have never been to Elkins Estate, the pulpit, you know, kind of, we had a lot more room than we have here, so it extended far back. And I was sitting in the back in prayer, as I said, in quiet repose. And Reverend Sheila and I were kind of, you know, lined up, so to speak. And so as I was in prayer, I faintly heard the words, "See her as she is. See her as she really and truly is." And what I saw in my mind's eye Reverend Sheila standing at the pulpit, immersed in a garment, fully robed in this garment that was a delicate cream-colored kind of a garment. It was a robe, and it was flowing, and it kind of flowed out, and it almost seemed like she was levitating. And on this garment, there appeared to be, or it was donned with beautiful, beautiful rubies and rare gems. It was a thing of beauty. And so when I say fully robed, I mean fully robed. Not just the old black robe that you kind of think about when you think about a robe. No, a robe is something else. And it didn't feel like it was something that she put on. What it felt like and what I sensed was that she was always robed. And the truth is, so are we. We are always fully robed. You know, I don't remember a whole lot of movies, but this made me think about the Marvel movie, Doctor Strange. You remember that movie? And yeah, you remember it, yeah? And so there was one scene where Doctor Strange was getting ready to get into a fight. And so the guy appeared, and it was a sword, I believe, on the wall. And so Doctor Strange was trying to get the sword, but the robe wouldn't let him get the sword, right? The robe was holding him back. And then the robe just kind of swings off, and the robe attacks the man, and and the man is down. And then the robe just kind of swings back over here, and then it swings back on to the character, and it's on him. And then there's other parts of the movie where, something is about to happen, and Doctor Strange is about to go take care of business. And so he's walking out, and then suddenly you'll see the robe swing down, and it's on him. Right? Fully robed. That the robe goes before us. It's doing the guiding and it's doing the leading in some way. So our robes represent truth. That's what our robes represent. And each of us are to take the truth that we have and use it. And then little by little and day by day, we come to realize more truth. What am I saying here? The truth. Pray whatever prayer you know to pray. It doesn't matter. If all you know is God is, if all you know is, what's the prayer we used to pray when we was going to bed? Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord, my soul to keep. If that's all you know, pray it. It's the truth you know. So each of us, we take the truth that we have and we work with it. In the Science of Mind textbook on page 282, Ernest Holmes says this. He says that the range of our possibilities at the present time does not extend far beyond the range of our present concepts. As we bring ourselves to a greater vision, we induce a greater concept and thereby demonstrate more in our experience. In this way, there is a continuous growth and unfoldment taking place. We do not expect to give a treatment today for prosperity and have $1 million tomorrow. But little by little, we can unfold our consciousness through the acquisition of greater and still greater mental equivalents, until at last we shall be made free. We move from thinking about a robe that is just a black robe, and we garner a greater mental equivalent, the robe that Reverend Sheila was doused in. See yourselves for a minute doused in that robe, whatever color, fine linen, rubies and gems. Get a greater mental equivalent is what he's saying. He goes on to say, the way to proceed is to begin right where we are. It is not scientific to attempt to begin somewhere else. No one understands the systemic use of the law will understand that he is where he is because of what he is. But he will not say, I must remain where I am because of what I am. Instead, he will begin to disclaim what he appears to be. And his statements release wrong subjective tendencies, providing in their place a correct concept of life and reality. He will automatically be lifted out of his condition. Impelling forces, sweeping everything before them, will set him free if he trusts in the Spirit and the working of the law. Ernest Holmes says, stay with the one and never deviate from it. Never leave it for a moment. Nothing else can equal this attitude. In all capital letters, he says, to desert the truth in the hour of need is to prove that we do not know the truth. Take whatever truth you have. When things look the worst, that is the supreme moment to demonstrate to ourselves that there are no obstructions to the operation of truth. When things look the worst, it is the best time to work. It's the most satisfying time. The person who can throw himself with a complete abandonment into that limitless sea of receptivity, having cut loose from all apparent moorings, is the one who will always receive the greatest reward. So, what he's saying is, again, take the truth that you have and work with it. You should remind your neighbor, tell your neighbor, take the truth you have and work with it. And work with it. Especially when times and things seem worse, or especially when things feel worse. Take the truth you have and work with it. Now, this all is a great matter of importance to us, those of us who call ourselves metaphysicians, because we are often confronted with God and. Even though we say God is omnipotence, omniscience, and omnipresent, even though we say God is all powerful, everywhere present, and all wise, we sometimes come up against God and. Even though we say God is without opposite, absolute, indestructible, we still might end up with God and. And so we operate sometimes in this world or find ourselves operating in opposites. When we say spirit has no opposite, God is all that there is. There is none other. It is all, the Alpha and the Omega, omniscience, all power, no other power. Psalm 91 in the Bible says it like this: they that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress. My God, in him I will rest. They that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. When we're talking about these principles and practices, we want to make sure that we're not hiding in the principles and practices. But we do want to have a greater realization of abiding in these truths, in these principles and these practices. They that dwelleth in the Spirit, in the secret place of the Most High, shall be covered by the shadow of the Almighty. It is my refuge. It is my fortress. I believe it. And when we're talking about this, we're not talking about anything outside of ourselves. Certainly, we're talking about the God in ourselves, the truth in us, abiding in it, not hiding in it. You know, here's the thing. We're in the business of transforming our minds. And what does that mean? That means that we are making sure, we are making certain that what we used to believe doesn't get in the way of what we are coming to believe. We are so certain and getting so clear in our work that what we believe, that we are making sure that what we used to believe is not getting in the way of what we deeply believe. Because when we do, that's when we find ourselves with God and instead of God is. You know, we used to believe that what we see and what we hear and what we feel had power over us. We used to believe that. We used to believe in the devil. We used to believe that. We used to believe that some have favor and others don't. We used to believe that. I was listening the other day to Dawn Staley, the coach of the women's South Carolina women basketball team. She was being interviewed. They just won the NCAA championship, right? A record of 37 or 38-0. They didn't lose no games. And so she was being interviewed, and she said, it is uncommon favor that followed them, right? No, it's not uncommon favor that got them to that point. We used to believe in favor. We don't believe in favor anymore. Listen, if you practice and you apply the principles to your life, if you practice and make adjustments, if you practice, you meditate, you pray, you contemplate, and you apply it to your life, we all can be 38 and oh. It's not uncommon favor. We used to believe that. Don't let what we used to believe, don't you let what you used to believe get in the way of what you deeply believe. Don't let it get in the way of what you are coming to believe. God is one. And this is not a God outside of me. It is a essence and a presence and love and truth and beauty that is within me. We used to believe that God could do something for us. Or we used to believe that God would work on our behalf, do something to her. Or do something to him. We used to believe that. But they who dwelleth in the secret place, the shadow of the Almighty, it is my refuge and my fortress. I can count on it. We can't be double-minded. I used to believe in lack. I used to believe in limitation. I used to believe that there'd be no one in this world who could match my love. Or so I thought. I used to believe I couldn't get up here and talk. Whatever it is, don't let what you used to believe get in the way of what you deeply believe. The psalm reminds us to abide in it, not to hide in the principles. You want to be very sure you're not using the principles to hide. You want to be very sure you're not using the principles as a sword. Take up thy sword and put on thy robe. Ernest Holmes said that we are to believe that it is. We are to stay with the one. Because until we believe that it is, we are believing that it is not. Let me give it to you again. Until you are abiding in the principle of oneness, you're believing that there's two. Until you believe that it is, you are believing that it is not. Until we believe in the omnipower and the infinite power, the all-power, until we are believing that it is, we are believing that it is not. In other words, we have to begin to learn how not to personalize everything. Not to personalize the experience, not to personalize what he said, and not to personalize what she said. Because when you do, you're not believing. You're believing in two powers. That somebody can say something and it has power over you. That somebody can do something and it has power over you. We're not, in that instance, we're not abiding in it. And if we can be made to believe in two powers, if we can be made to believe that what somebody says or what somebody does has power over us, we've got work to do. Then we've deviated from the one. Our work is this, as Joel Goldsmith says and reminds us, he says, our work is to realize the no power of the appearance that claims to have power. That's our work. Thou shalt have no power over me unless God giveth power, something like that is what the Bible says. The thing itself has no power. That's our work. What she said has no power over me. What he said has no power over me. They that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say, it is my refuge. It is my fortress. I believe it. We cannot let what we used to believe get in the way of what we deeply believe. Don't abandon the truth Don't hide in it. Come to abide in it. Take up thy sword and put on thy robe. Practitioners, please join me. As we take a moment simply to turn within, to anchor the words, the songs, the glances, the love, to get anchored in it. And we do so simply by acknowledging and recognizing that there is only one life. There is only one life, there's only one power, there's only one presence. Its essence is ever present in our lives. It is the very robe that we carry with us day and night and day. Effervescent, beautiful it is. Rubies and gems representing our truth, our beauty, our magnificence, and our power. We affirm and we know, I affirm and I know now that we are ever one with all of life. There is nothing outside of us, nothing to be obtained outside of us, nothing to gain, nothing to add to the all, for it is all. It is absolute, indestructible, without opposites. It is, and we are. Never to be separate and apart from it. So let us affirm today and know for ourselves and for each other that what we believed in the past has no power over what we deeply believe today. I affirm for you as I affirm for myself that the moment past thinking, old thinking, the moment somebody says something to me, that each of us are quickened in the realization that God is. That we abide in the secret place of the Most High in our consciousness. Our thought is on the one, and we never deviate from it. I affirm for you as I affirm for myself that I know the truth and I will not abandon the truth in my time of need. Yes, yes. It goes with me wherever I go. It leads and I follow. Fully robed in love and fully robed in truth, fully robed in beauty. That whatever is appearing, I affirm for you as I affirm for myself that there is no power in the thing appearing to be real. It's not true. The truth is the truth, and it is one. So let us give thanks this morning then for this great realization, for this opportunity to abide in it, not to hide in it, not to abandon it, but to spring forth as it. Yes. So that whatever the moment is calling for in us, there it is. The robe fastening and quickening to us the truth. Yes, yes. Having us speak it in such a way that instantaneously things are changed. Instantaneously our mood is changed. Instantaneously the mode is changed. But we all can affirm and know then, and will say, it is my refuge and my fortress. In it, I cannot be made to believe in two when there is only one in it. I believe. I give thanks for this. Let us be so moved in this moment simply to gather the words and to release them into the law, letting them go. As we do, we know now that the supreme power of the law is acting upon our words in such a precise way that each of us come to know something more, is coming to know something more, and nevertheless, that each of us are coming to believe even more deeply than we ever thought we could, and that what we did believe has no power over us. We let our words go, we let them be, and together we come together in agreement by saying, and so it is. on throughout our week, excuse me, let me remind you to take up thy sword and put on thy robe. And so it is.